I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to suspend the order of the agenda tonight, and I'm going to take first at 7 o'clock the tax classification. So we have a tax classification hearing in accordance with Chapter 369, Acts of 1982, Section 1, and Chapter 40, Section 56. The Select Board of the Town of Newbury will hold a hearing on the determination of the percentage of tax levy to be borne by each class of real property for fiscal year 2025. The hearing is to be held on Tuesday, November 26th at 7 p.m. at Newbury Municipal Offices, 12 Kent Way, second floor hearing room, Byfield, Mass. 01922. So Jason DeCipio is our assessor, and I welcome Jason.
Thank you.
Do we need to open the hearing and close the hearing?
So I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing.
All right, I motion that we open the hearing,
Tax classification hearing.
tax classification hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, good evening, everybody. And I'm just going to recap a few things, then and with a vote on the items that we have to address. But in your packet that you received, I just wanted to remind, as we talked about a little bit there, the purpose of the classification hearing is for the Select Board to determine the allocation of property taxes amongst the different classes of property, real and personal, whether it's commercial, industrial, or even open space. And these residential factor is used to determine the percentage of the levy that is applied to each of these classes of real and personal property. Some general facts about fiscal 25, that this was still another interim year. We do quinquennial revaluations. So though we updated our values, we didn't change our methodology in doing so. So when the Department of Revenue approved all our values, that's what they were approving, just that we were at market value. One of the figures that I give you on page 4 is new growth. You see our 3-year average is just over 240,000. This year we just made it over 200,000. The reason I only bring this up is, it could be a sign things are slowing, but what growth is really important for is because that's what allows us to grow our levy every year. Prop 2.5 allows us to grow from last year for 2.5%, but new growth allows us to increase it by that figure. So things are slowing, that could be less of a ceiling on that levy. So our total taxable value for the community is up again, 6.9% on average. That's from the previous year of fiscal 24. However, our proportions didn't change and are virtually the same in every sense, where we're 95.7% residential and only 4.3 the commercial, industrial, and personal property. So that fits into all the other categories. It's predominantly a single-family community. On page 5, we just talked about the levy a little bit, where I went over what our growth was for the year, and this is how we kind of figure and back into what our tax rate's going to be. The budget's set, we know what we need to raise in tax dollars, and then my values get approved and certified by the Department of Revenue. And so we have to come into the estimated levy, and that's how we're able to calculate what we need to raise in taxes. And that is, if you follow that down at the top of page 5, basically just talks about what last year's levy is, plus the 2.5, and the new growth, and where we're able to come out to for this year. Estimated at $20,670,000. I believe that EVA currently has the levy just below that now, maybe about 10,000 less. So if anything, I always put it in here for the presentation when I submit the material. Really the worst case scenario, that's the maximum that we'd have to raise, so that it factored in for the tax rate. So based on that information of what we have to raise, the fiscal 25 tax rate is estimated to come in at $7.45 per thousand. That's an increase to the average tax bill of about $189, and the value again was up about 6.9%. So it brings up the average single-family home is about $925,000 here in Newbury. Doesn't seem very affordable when I say it out loud, but. All right, so the options that we have to vote on, one are the residential factor, and that's whether the community wants to adopt a shift in the residential factor, meaning that you can shift the burden onto the commercial and industrial and personal property component of the community. As we talked about, that's only about 4.3%. So if you flip to page 6, I go through the options on if you decided that you ever wanted to shift, this is what it would do and the net effect that it would have. So shifting, you know, to a, what do they call it, a residential factor of 1.1, meaning that you would tax the commercial industrial, you know, another 10% more. It would alleviate the average single family about $28, but the average commercial property would pay another $661. And that's, you know, the whole chart right there goes in through what the effects of having adopted anything other than a factor of 1. The Board of Assessors does recommend sticking, as we historically have, with a uniform rate and a factor of 1 with no shift. The residential exemption is allowed, I've gone to page 7, to allow up to a 35% shift born within the residential class. And what this does is it allows you to shift from the higher value properties end up paying even more of a tax than the lower value properties because it's born within the residential class. So you can give an exemption to up to 35% of the average value, residential value. And the effects of doing so are right there at the top of page 7, where you would really effectively on a $500,000 house, you'd save about $1,400 a year, but you would then have to increase the property that's already paying more in taxes another $1,000 plus to be able to shift that burden. The Board of Assessors does recommend, you know, that the no residential exemption given. And getting to one of the last ones is the small commercial exemption. Small commercial exemption works very similar to how the residential exemption works. It's born within the commercial class and allows you to give a small exemption of up to 10% for commercial properties that have less than, I think it's 10 people working per year. We have to get the statistics from the labor board at the state would have to tell us who would qualify for this. And, you know, part of the problem with that is it's not even given to the business if they rent it. It's, you know, it's given to the landlord because it's for the real estate. So just one other option that you have, but, you know, the board has consistently recommended that we do not adopt a small commercial exemption. I did skip over the open space, which is one of the options, and the reason that I skip over it is because it is up to, you know, the Board of Assessors to define and classify any property as open space should they want to, or feel that it's necessary. And really the definition of open space is at the back of page 8. We currently do not have any open space or property considered open space for tax purposes in Newbury, so any exemption given would be moot. So in conclusion to all that info that I just threw at you, the Board of Assessors is unanimous in their recommendation to retain a uniform tax rate, and 2, a residential factor of 1, and 2, no open space discount, 3, no residential exemption, and 4, a no small commercial exemption. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, but at the end of that the board should vote and take a roll call vote on each item and, you know, vote for the 4 classification items.
Thank you. Before I entertain comment from the public, does any board have any questions?
Just a couple of comments.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, I was looking at the history on the I guess where that $200,125 comes from.
Yep.
And it was less than 2024. And I just happened to, I really haven't noticed this before, but I looked down to like 2019. 2019 was a significant drop. And then it slowly came back. increasing up until 2024. Do you remember why that happened?
Well, so it was me, coming to Newbury, I came here in fiscal 21, the end of 2020. I don't know what was going on in Newbury at that time, and that is, really post-crash, because, that crash that happened in 06, 08 lasted till about 2012, but we didn't feel the effects of that really in valuation till about 2014 is where that started, to kind of really start to turn around. You can see that it was an uptick right from there, that 2014, 2015. Growth is really a byproduct of what, building. It's, building permits only add so much, right? Like if I improve, I redo a kitchen, I might improve the condition of my house. But if I'm not building a new house and changing land, from 1 lot to 20 lots, I'm really not getting a lot of growth in the community. And, sometimes a significant amount of our growth will also come from the utilities, the personal property side, which we had significant amount this year with the solar coming online. About, $30,000 of that was, from the solar project that we have.
I can tell you that in 2019, the tax rate was $10.81 a thousand. So it may not have been attractive to some people tax-wise
Yeah.
to be here.
And you see, so that's a byproduct, because again, as the value goes up, the tax rate seems to go down, but then the new values are multiplied against that lower tax rate, so you really gotta get more value,
In order to be able to obtain the revenues, probably is a reflection of the rate because of the reduction in the values, I guess.
Rate is a byproduct of value, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Value and obviously levy.
Jeff?
Very good presentation.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? This might be unrelated, and if we can't talk about this, that's okay, but the HERO Act that just passed with the state and the exemptions, by the way, I wanna thank you for working with us to give our veterans the disability exemptions that they got last year. And that being said, is the COLA piece of the HERO Act, are we gonna get that automatically? Or is that something that we would have to vote on?
Have to vote on, so any of these, so exemptions work under the statutory exemptions, chapter 59, section 5, and then the subsection to what they are. So all the ones that are standard, that are given out by, like, the government says, the state of Massachusetts says, well, you have to administer these, are somewhat reimbursable by the Department of Revenue, gives us money back every year. When we do a local option, those amounts, such as doubling, any of the amount that we double, will increase on the exemptions, we get no money back. That doesn't mean you do or do not wanna do them. So what they say is, if you wanna do that, you have to do it by local vote, as we did with the local option to double. So any of the other options that were not mandated by the state under the HERO Act would be that. And so real estate exemptions under the HERO Act, there were no additional ones, just local options that we'd have to.
So the answer to that, it's not gonna be automatic unless we put it on the warrant and vote for it.
Ran all the way around to answer, yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
There's not a question, but it's just, I like the way you explain it, because I have a feeling some people think that town leadership picks a number out of a hat to establish a rate,
I hear it all the time.
tax rate.
Yeah.
A tax rate. And it's really a calculation. It's all
I'm
mathematics.
gonna raise there because we need more taxes, I'm not gonna do either one, they're bifurcated completely, then.
It's mathematics, and it's also reviewed by the Department of Revenue to make sure our mathematics are correct.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
need to realize that.
Okay, Jason, that was very well done, thank you.
Great. So yeah, I just ask that after you do the questions again, a roll call vote for the 4 options,
Yeah,
but
I
I'll
just
be
wanna
right here
see
if
if there's
you need me.
anybody
Yep.
in the public that wants to come up, because it is a public hearing.
I just have one question, it's probably for Tracy.
Do you wanna come up, Dale, say who you are, please, for the TV?
Dale Williams, Scotland Heights. The fact that we have the same commercial as residential rate, it's been that way for years. Is that an attractive thing that people looking to bring a business to this town pay attention to? Or are we not attracting new business for lack of space or utilities or?
I think we would attract less business if we did have a split rate, for sure, absolutely.
But we're not really attracting much new business.
We don't really have a lot of utilities to provide new businesses. That's our issue.
I think it would be a plus to have the single rate, but we don't have the land that has utilities attached.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that the town of Newbury retain the uniform tax rate for fiscal year 2025 with a residential factor of 1.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Oh, I need a roll call vote.
I don't know if it has to be a roll call. I think you know what, I'm still hanging on to that from COVID, when we were, we had to do the vote. So it doesn't just say, an individual vote on each item. I
All
don't
in
think it has to
favor?
be a roll call.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? It passes, okay.
You good?
I make a motion that there will be no open space discount fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? That was unanimous.
I motion that there will be no residential exemption for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any
I thought,
discussion?
isn't that commercial?
Residential.
No, the
exemption.
residential exemption.
Commercial's another exemption. That's the next motion.
So this
Okay,
is the residential.
you got the verbiage over there, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to the, that there'll be no residential exemption. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the
I
rest?
motion that there will be no small commercial exemption for fiscal year 2025.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. And now I'll move to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Jason.
Okay, so next, I'm gonna actually go back and ask for public comment, so to receive oral communications from members of the public may address the select board for up to 3 minutes. Select board shall not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Is there any public comment? No. Okay, grants, gifts, and donations. Approval on behalf of the Newbury Cultural Council to accept an allocation of $5,700 from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. I'll entertain a motion to,
Motion to approve from the Newbury Cultural Council.
is there a second?
Donation of $5,700.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this?
I do, the paperwork that we got, what is this about?
So, the Massachusetts.
Is it just our application to be part of the Massachusetts Cultural Council?
We're part of it. Anyways, it's just their allotment of, it's just the paperwork that comes with the grant.
But the paperwork doesn't mention $5,700 anyplace.
Right.
Joy, do you have any comment on that? Oh, I should have introduced Joy. Can I go back for a minute, please? I am so sorry. Joy is our new Assistant Town Administrator, Joy Stanton.
Welcome, Joy.
So my apologies, the original packet that we received, did talk about the $5,700 that was awarded, but it had David's name all over it. And it originally had a deadline to respond of November 22nd. I was able to get it extended so that we could have it before the board tonight for approval to accept. And then change the documentation to reflect a new signatory. But that's why the documentation was revised. Tracy, do you have more history on the
No,
funding?
what you see in front of you is just the application summary. It's an annual allotment.
Right.
Yep.
And it looks like it's all electronic, and it was all electronically signed and approved, and that's why we don't see any of that in here. I got that part, I just was wondering, you know, and thank you, Joy, for, the primary contact. I also noticed that it used to be David and not yourself, and I was happy to see that it was fixed, actually, so.
Yeah.
So getting back to the motion, we're just accepting
Right.
$5,700.
Accepting the money, that's what we do as a board. Well, yeah, do you have a motion in a second, Joy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approval on behalf of the Council on Aging to accept a donation of $50 from Dennis and Alana Casey.
Motion to accept a donation of $50 from Dennis and Alana Casey.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval on behalf of the Council on Aging to accept a donation of $25 from David Winters.
Motion to accept the donation of $25 for David Winters.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approve on behalf of the the Council on Aging to accept a donation of $30 from Raymond and Avril Merrick.
Motion to accept $30 from Raymond and Abel Merrick.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval on behalf of the Council on Aging to accept a donation of $20 from Susan Hay.
Motion to accept the donation of $20 from Susan Hay.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Approval on behalf of the Council on Aging to accept a donation totaling $2,300 from the Central Congregational Church.
To accept a donation totaling $2,300 from the Central Congregational Church.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
I've seen this before in other boards, but this is a restricted donation. And my question, and Bill might be able to answer this, I don't know if there's anybody here from the Council on Aging, but it was given by the Central Congregational Church. And this is cool, I like it. The restriction is for transportation and prescription refill assistance is what the money was donated for. How does the COA keep track of that? Is there a separate fund for restricted versus non-restricted donations? 'Cause
I'm sure, and I'll have the town administrator answer that, but
Yeah,
I'm
we do.
sure she keeps a separate line item and you have to show proof that you
Right.
qualify under that.
And we have it accounted for separately in our general ledger as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay,
And we have to vote.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, under new business, I'm passing over the tax classification hearing, because we just had that, is the adoption of fiscal year 2026 organization-wide goals. So, those are in front of you. These are goals, this is not select board goals, these are very high-level overarching town of Newbury-wide goals. They're pretty much the same year after year, with a little bit of tweaking. This time, we have, there is something new. So the first, under governance and organizational structure, we have charter bylaw review to ensure that the town is governed by best practice. That's ongoing, it's expensive, and we pick away at that as we can. The second one is new this year. It's Establish Americans with Disabilities Act compliance by developing an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan and working cooperatively to remove programmatic and physical barriers to access to ensure that Newbury is accessible to all residents. Does anybody have any questions on that one?
I'm just assuming we have a long ways to go.
Yeah, well, we just,
Because you're talking crosswalks and curbs and curb cuts and all of that.
Tracy, do you wanna speak to that?
So what we're proposing here is having the, performing a self-evaluation to identify those areas where we're deficient, and then we, with an eye towards seeking grant funding to remedy those situations.
Without a plan, like right now, we don't even have a plan.
No.
So we need a plan first, so we can know how to get there.
A lot of places in Newbury, we have to find a curb to cut.
Good point.
That was a figure of speech.
The financial management, there's 8 goals under this. Maintain a level service budget while continuing to offer the same services residents have come to enjoy and develop. Creative means to improve in all areas of municipal service. Protect and improve the town's overall financial condition. Develop a budget that conforms with the Newbury's financial policies and does not rely on one-time funding sources or unsustainable practices. Identify options or expense reductions and/or identify new revenue sources, including grant funding to balance projected expenses with funding. To protect the town's long-run solvency beyond the immediate budget cycle by developing clear policies regarding issues such as debt, adequate funding of reserves, OPEB liabilities, and capital investment. Number 6, develop financial policies that meet or exceed the Department of Local Services best practice recommendations and align with Newbury's goals and objectives. Tracy, I think we already have financial policies.
We do. We accepted, the select board adopted them a number of years ago.
So my suggestion is, for this one, is to evaluate rather than develop financial policies. I'd like this to read, evaluate our financial policies to ensure that they meet or exceed the Department of Local Services best practices recommendations. The board okay with that?
Yeah, because we've already developed them.
They're already developed.
We
I
just
don't want
need-
it to
We
look
just need to
like.
keep them up to speed.
Yeah, well, and they constantly shift and change, and I just didn't
Right.
want the public to think that we don't have any financial policies. We already do have them.
I think it makes sense, because you're also comparing them to the Department of Local Services.
Which
If
shifts
they
and
change something, then we
Right.
need to make sure we're in lockstep with them.
Right. Develop a financial forecast that guides Newbury's leadership in making current and future financial decisions in alignment with town goals and objectives. And develop an GFOA budget and submit for the GFOA Distinguished Budget Award in fiscal year 2026. So we've won this award already twice. We ran it, so.
On 7, we actually have, we actually have done 7 also already, haven't we?
Develop,
Financial forecast?
Develop a financial
We
forecast.
do one we try to do it every year.
Right, because I
Yep.
not getting mixed in with other committees or whatever, but I think we because I remember some of the scary conversations we've had about this kind of stuff, so.
right, and that changes every year, so
Right.
that's why we have to develop a new one every single
Oh,
year.
so that's why it's developed versus
Every
maintained
year
or whatever,
there's different,
gotcha.
that's right. The
Okay.
policies are there. Our financial forecast is shifting sand, so.
Right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, capital
You know,
infrastructure.
Richard, when we start to think of these things too, I'm just gonna mention so that it comes to people's radar. That education costs are going up and we're looking at new school buildings. Just so people are gonna have to, face the fact that those things are coming.
Yep,
And they're gonna be part of how we design all that forethought that we just went through that you read.
okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right, capital and infrastructure. We develop a capital improvement plan. We have that. It's updated every 5 years. It's gonna guide and instruct capital projects over the next 5 years. Address identified building capital needs and fund a reasonable amount of capital projects as funding affords and aligns with the capital improvement plan. We do that. Under human resources, we consider intentional succession planning for a variety of key department heads and positions to prevent staffing disruptions due to upcoming retirement or staffing changes and ensure seamless customer service. begin class and compensation assessment of positions to ensure job descriptions and duties are accurate and fairly distributed amongst all personnel, and that Newbury remains competitive when attracting talented employees. That's something else that we do every year. We have to assess compensation and look at it and job descriptions and make sure those align correctly. Emergency management, support vital emergency management functionality by continuing to advocate and pursue all funding options available via regional and state levels to reduce the taxpayer burden whilst maintaining an excellent emergency management response team, and to work to improve and update public safety facilities as needed and in accordance with capital planning goals. Infrastructure and economic development. Maintain Newbury as a quality and affordable place to live and operate a business by continuing to maintain and improve vital infrastructure, encouraging economic development and growth, and developing and/or supporting local and regional programs for Newbury's business owners. So it kind of speaks to what Dale just spoke to about how we're going to encourage new growth and stuff. But I think that we keep our tax rate low. That's keeping it affordable. Our roads and our infrastructure are top notch. I think we do work. We do try to maintain Newbury as best we can. Okay, under communication and community relations, in accordance with the Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, identify goals annually to coordinate, protect, and develop land use, housing opportunities, economic development, natural and cultural resources, open space and recreation, and services and facilities in accordance with the town's master plan. Improve communication with residents and encourage citizen participation. Identify and fill vacant seats on town boards and committees by identifying effective methods to promote citizen participation in local governance. Coordinate website and social media review and updates to ensure accuracy and relevance of all content. Standardize procedures for website and social media posting. So on that note, I have asked Joy if she could take a good look at our website, and she's already begun revamping it. And it's my hope that when she rolls it out, it will be a much more user-friendly, because I don't think it's user-friendly. That's just me.
If I can clarify, I am working with Jonathan, the technology director, to do that together.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's coming. So these are our pretty much overarching organization-wide goals by categories. Does anybody have any additional goals that you want to see on here? Is there anything that you'd like to see removed? Any comments at all before I ask for a vote? I'll go down the line. Jeff? You're good with the status quo?
Good was what I said.
Yeah. Dana?
I just, as far as the communication and community relations and updating the town website, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I know, how much money we pull out of PEG annually to support our IT and that kind of stuff. If there's things that we want to do or need to do above and beyond that kind of standard budget that we do every single year, would we or could we maybe ask the residents to pull some more money out of that to improve even more than what we're doing now with that amount of money, that's all.
So the issue with that, it's a good idea. The way that the accounting right now works for that line item is it can only be used for public, educational, or governmental programming. You can't use it to update a website, you can't do anything like that. It has to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, it has to be specific to that. We had a warrant article at town meeting to revoke that restriction on that line item and have it go back to the operating budget.
General fund.
The general fund, which then it could be appropriated to do something like that, which failed. So currently, right now, those monies cannot be used. But tuck that thought away, and when we talk about budget, pretty soon, it's gonna, budget season, we'll have that conversation again, because we have to set the warrant again.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to, in the future, discuss more about, you know, it seems like there's a gray area in there somewhere where, you know, you, obviously there's some things we can't use the money for, but I think there's additional things that we can use the money for that we may or may not be tapping into those things, and just thinking out loud, like, public Wi-Fi, like, on the.
that's not public, that's not broadcasting, has to be broadcast. We can have this,
Well, yeah,
we'll have this,
thanks.
that's kinda
Right,
going into the
right.
weeds, but we'll have that separate conversation. Any other comments on these organization-wide goals? Bill,
No, I'm good with
you're
this.
good? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to, approve these organization-wide goals as we discussed.
Make a motion to adopt, for fiscal year 2026, the organization-wide goals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have a request for public property use, a special permit, backstop at the Upper Green. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to allow.
Second.
It's the Ralph Johnson, discussion, the Ralph Johnson, the Newburyport Choral Society would like to have it up from November 29th till December 16th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, under old business, we have two very patient gentlemen waiting here. The town of Newbury voted, and a town meeting approved, aggregation power to our electricity, become municipal aggregation for our electrical energy in our community. And we have Mark Capadonna here tonight from Colonial Power Group. Thank you, Mark, and you're going to explain to us an update on the community power aggregate and any next steps.
Good evening, Mark Capadonna with Colonial Power Group. I'm here tonight to discuss the municipal aggregation for Newbury. So I'm just gonna start with where we've been, then I'm gonna get to where we've gone. So back in April 25th in 2003, town meeting approved this as a concept. The concept is on the supplies portion of your bill, the town will go out and procure energy on your behalf, then allow you to make a choice. The program, this is the hot button item, I wanna make sure that everyone in this room understands, it's an opt-out aggregation, meaning if someone doesn't do anything, they'll automatically be enrolled. So I'm just gonna run through the steps that you've been through, then tell you kind of where you are. Signed a consultant agreement in May of 23 with Colonial. We created a plan, you hung that plan from July through August of 23. This board approved the plan in August of 23. We had a DOER consultation in January of 24. And then, believe it or not, you just received a couple of other filings just due to administrative things at the Department of Public Utilities, and you received your order on November 5th of 24, which seems like a very long time, but believe it or not, it is light speed by the departments. In the past, I expected much longer than 3 years. So what does it mean? You have an approved order now. That means you get to go out now and check the marketplace and see where the market is compared to where National Grid will be, and then talk about what products you might like to see. So what we've done is we've gone out to the marketplace and started what we call indicative pricing. All that is just pricing, just a test run to show you this is your load, this is when it's pricing. Then we're gonna work with Joy just to show her, you know, here are 6 months, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, with a basic service type renewable product. Exactly a match with National Grid. That's one product. We'll give you a national product, we'll give you a local product, we'll give you some more green. At that point, the board will have to make some decisions about how you move forward. Meaning, yes, we'd like to move forward with final pricing. At that point, you need to give some authority and some guardrails for Tracy so that she could sign off. It's a little bit of a fire drill that day on final pricing. The one thing I want you to know, the good thing about aggregation, it's Monday morning quarterbacking. So the reason we're getting pricing on December 5th, National Grid goes out on December 11th for their final pricing. We'll know that by the 18th. We'll have some time to discuss about what's going on, where the market will be. That pricing that National Grid will have, that final pricing on the 18th will be effective on February 1st. So the town will then need to make a decision whether or not they decide to move forward. If the market is above where National Grid, of course, we're not gonna move forward. At no point are you required to sign anything. Till we say, yep, this makes sense, it's a big enough difference in price, we go forward. I'm gonna give you the rosy scenario. If nothing happens, everyone's gonna stay where they are. But let's just say the pricing comes in a penny or two below basic service, and we decide to move forward. What happens to you, the resident and at the town? Before the program ever starts, every single person will receive an opt-out that's on basic service. So this program is only if you're getting your supply from National Grid. If you're on third-party supply, we're going to notify you, we just won this battle with the department, we'll send you a postcard. Town program started, but we can't switch you because we'd be slamming you. But there would be a postcard that goes out. At that time, we'd also have an article in the newspaper, we'd push out anything on a website, through, I don't know if you use Twitter or Facebook. Then we'd also have a series of in-person meetings that anyone could attend, excuse me, and ask questions. No question that wouldn't be answered. Everyone can show up. At that point, 30 days. If you did nothing, I want to repeat that, if you did nothing, you'd automatically be enrolled. They do this so it's easy on the customer. This program, the way it's set up, there's no fee or penalty to leave the program or return to the program. I'm gonna give you a quick scenario. So the program starts and you're nervous, I think the lights are going to go out. I opt out of the program, no problem. 3 months later, you say, geez, I never should have opted out, I think I'm gonna try to opt in. Simple, phone call to us, go online, and you opt back in the program. On your next meter read, you're going to be enrolled. 2 years from now, basic service is down below the aggregation rate. I wish to opt out of the program. I can opt out of the program. What you're really doing is bringing a choice that did not exist in the marketplace. So let me explain, in case people's memories are short. This town felt it full bore, same town I was in. National Grid's rate went to 33 cents. When you set your rate, you're setting a ceiling on energy prices for the term of that contract. No one in town has to pay more than that price at any point, but that doesn't mean they have to participate. Just want to explain. If back 3 years ago, an aggregation was in place and there was a 10-cent rate at the time, everyone could have enjoyed that 10-cent rate. They didn't have to, but they could have. If they opted out of the program, they could have opted back in. Again, no fee or penalty to do so. It's about choice. And this is a choice currently Newbury does not have because the aggregation isn't running. Hopefully soon, at some point, the market will be in your favor and we'll get it started. But what I want to say is this is about choice. It's not about trying to move anyone. It's just the most effective way to move customers at a price point that actually works in the marketplace. So many of those third party, and I met many a customer here, very astute citizenry here that actually play the market and they change suppliers. This program, probably not for them, but I guarantee you they'll use it at certain points as they're moving around in the marketplace. Again, no one's trying to hold anyone in or out. This is just about a choice. So what we're looking for today would be, yes, we can move forward with that indicative pricing and have the discussions. And I don't know if they plan on bringing that back, if Joy or Tracy plan to bring it back in front of the board. And then after that, once we found out what National Grid's pricing was, we would come back and say, we're going to go to final pricing. If you were looking, so there's some things about aggregation, right? There's a lot of setup with the utility and whoever the winning supplier is. So we need every bit of 60+ days before an aggregation starts. So if you wanted to start in March, you'd have to sign a contract before the end of December. Which, again, the 18th, we'd know the price. There happens to be a little thing called holidays here that I'm sure everyone would like to participate in. Whether or not you do that is completely up to you. If not, we just kick the can down to April. That just means we sign the contract before the end of January. And in doing so, we would then, get that ball rolling at that time frame. Meaning, contract would be signed sometime in February. We'd already get the list. The opt-out period would happen in February, I'm just gonna make this up, February 15th through March 15th. During that time period, once everyone got the mailing, could be an article in the newspaper, push some stuff out. I don't know if we do anything on a local cable station, but then we'd also have all of those meetings so that everyone would understand what was going on in town. If there are any other ideas, I'm really here to answer questions and make sure everyone understands kind of what's in front of them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to start this before I ask the board questions. I'm a little bit familiar with aggregation and how supply and demand works in the electrical market, so I think I'm a little bit more educated than, I don't wanna say that my board's dumb, because they're not.
What do you mean, because your family does it?
Yeah, so here's my question. And this is gonna be like a clarifying question so that the public understands what I'm talking about. Currently, in the town of Newbury, when you receive your electricity, you buy it from the utility, which is National Grid, or you purchase it. National Grid will always deliver it to you, but you could also purchase it from a third-party vendor like Dominion or another type of
Constellation, correct statement.
Right?
Correct.
Those are the only choices right now that residents of the town of Newbury have.
That's a correct statement.
Once we move forward with this aggregation and the town administrator signs the contract, residents of the town of Newbury will have a third place to look for their pricing. They'll have to look to what the National Grid rate is. They can look out on the open market to Constellation, Dominion, whoever else wants to supply, the energy supplier. And they can look and see what the aggregate rate is. And they have to choose. Now, when you say I know with third-party suppliers, there's contracts involved. So residents, and I believe that's why you can't switch a resident off of that is already on a third-party contract. They're contractually obligated.
Correct.
With that supplier. So they cannot choose, or you cannot move them off of.
We would be slamming that customer.
Correct.
That is correct.
Well, that's, I guess, a term, slamming, but you can't do that.
That is correct.
But you can do it to the utility.
That's what the program is about, from the customer getting their service, their supply service from National Grid. Those customers can be moved to the aggregate and will be moved if they don't opt out of the program.
Okay. Now, what I think is different about aggregation, municipal aggregation, what's coming to the town of Newbury, is currently when you go with National Grid, if you don't have a supplier, if you don't pick a supplier to supply you energy, you automatically default to National Grid because you need to get energy. So that's where that comes from.
Correct.
There's no contractual obligation between the resident and National Grid. And what I believe I just heard you say, that there's no contractual obligation between you, the aggregate, and the resident either. The only way they would have a contractual obligation is if they went with a third-party vendor and signed a contract. Is that an accurate statement?
All of it is accurate.
Okay. So I'm gonna just stop there. There's more I wanna talk about, but let's just stop there. Does everybody understand what I just said?
Mm-hmm.
Was I clear? Right, do you have any questions?
I only have a thought,
Okay.
and when you refer to the board, and we talk about the board, and we talk about making decisions, I think we have oversight, but we were directed by town meeting to
Correct.
do this.
Right.
So I'm not sure you have a lot of choice to say no.
Well, no, we're doing this. Town meeting voted us to do
I mean,
it.
as tonight, I heard we're gonna vote on it, you know, so.
It's a vote to allow
Right.
the administrator to sign off on a
I
contract.
think we've
She
been
needs
kind of
authority.
told by town meeting that we're gonna vote yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. No, we're gonna do this. We've been directed by town meeting to do it. This all came from, like, when you said it was 33 cents a kilowatt hour or something,
Correct.
when that was really high. And Newbury wasn't part of an aggregate, and surrounding communities were, and I believe Newburyport was paying 11 cents, and it's just another tool in the tool belt. I see it as just another tool in the tool belt. You can choose to use it and you can't. All right, any other questions about that piece of it before I go to the next piece that I wanna talk about?
Yeah, I just wanna talk about, this is under old business,
Right,
your briefing. It doesn't say that any votes required for anything
no, this is just a
on the
briefing.
agenda.
Yeah, no,
Well, you
this,
just said we're gonna vote on it.
no,
Well, you don't need to vote tonight.
No,
You
not
do not need to
tonight.
vote
Yeah,
tonight,
okay.
at some point in the future. But
I
I'm
think
sorry.
we already voted to have you sign this.
I believe you may
Yeah.
have. but
I was
I'll
gonna
have to
say,
research
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't believe, I think, yeah, you go before, in front of a lot of different towns. We've already, I believe, and she'll go find the vote, that we've already directed the town administrator to sign on behalf of us, so I.
I do have more questions, but you go ahead and, are you done with?
Well, is it has to do with pricing and contractual stuff, or what is your, what
Well, I
is it?
don't really know, but.
You want me to continue?
But, here's my question. I know that we've talked about solar energy, and we talked about in the past that I have solar, and I don't have batteries. So I sell my kilowatts back to National Grid.
Yes.
So if I did not opt out, the aggregation is gonna accept my kilowatts just like National Grid does?
So believe it or not, your contract is with the utility, will stay with the utility. You'll still put your kilowatts back on the grid, and the utility will pay you the utility basic service rate. When you're using kilowatts, if you decide to stay in the program, you'll be paying the aggregation rate. So there's a little bit of a difference for anyone on solar. It works seamlessly. Thousands of customers have participated the whole time. When you put a kilowatt back on the grid, I'll just use today, so let's just say we got a rate of 13, current rate of basic service 16,055. They're gonna pay you 16 for anything you put on. When you're using it, you gotta pay 13. This is not a utopian world, the knife cuts both ways. If at some point in the future, just the opposite happened, we had a 13-cent rate and basic service was 12. When you were using power, you'd be paying 13, and they'd be paying you when you were putting kilowatts on the grid at 12. Make sense?
Yes.
No, you don't need to change a thing, it will work identical, just a little bit of an enhancement because they always pay basic service to utility.
Okay.
For solar.
For solar, that is correct.
Right. And I had another question, I don't remember.
Okay, well, it'll come to you in a minute.
Go ahead,
So
go,
for
go.
so to dovetail on what he just said, so our residents that have solar powered, solar panels on their roofs and that are tied into the utility, they'll still generate their power and they'll still use locally what they use, and any excess will still go back to the utility on their contractual obligation with the utility.
Correct.
And then when you consume energy, if you consume more than you generate locally by your own house, you still may have the option, if you choose to go on the aggregate.
That is a correct statement.
Is that clear?
Yes.
I have a question, well, statement question. Number of citizens who have electric vehicles, and National Grid offers an incentive if you charge your vehicle at home during off-peak times, 9 PM to 1 PM, okay? Is a discount that you receive as an incentive. It's not a lot of money, but I just wonder,
Can I, if it's a utility program, and I wanna make sure that I'm clear, it's a utility program, the utility program will continue to exist.
Perfect.
So if you have a low income discount, budget billing, automatic withdrawal, a farm discount, any of those, same thing with solar, and I believe this program, I apologize, I have not heard of this program as of yet, I know it's fairly new, we're talking about car charging. That's a utility program, and that would be on your T&D or your distribution side of the bill. You'll continue to receive it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
The only place I foresee, and this is taking it out a little further, complications, it's kind of like, I mean, I like choices, kind of like the George Jones country music song, Choices, but it's going to become, I think it's gonna be a little unwieldy to bring people that, probably 15 people watch our meetings at night. How are we going to make sure everyone understands their choices? We need more than a postcard. Are we having
Well,
public
that's-
meetings?
That's the
Where's
next,
the rub here? Who's
that's-
doing it? Are you doing it?
that's the next piece.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the next piece I
Then I
wanted to
can
talk
wait.
about.
I can wait.
No, I can wait as well.
So that's the next piece that I wanted to talk about was
Okay.
how we're going to let our constituents and residents in the town of Newbury know that this is coming and they have a choice and they have to do something.
And they're not gonna feel informed enough from us.
Well, that's right, and we have been told that several times that we don't communicate well enough. So you're gonna help us with that.
That is true.
What are you going to do?
So by law, there's an actual letter that goes to everyone. It has an apples to apples comparison. It's gonna tell you, here is the town of Newbury's rate and here's the basic service rate. If you do nothing, you'll be enrolled. Couldn't be easier. Inside that letter is an opt-out card. Simply sign it, put it in a stamped address envelope that's inside that card, put it in the mail, and you're out of the program. Or you wait, you can go online, you can call a 1-800 number, in case anyone's uncomfortable in any of those ways. You know, you can always call Colonial to get out of the program, you can also call National Grid. Now, from the next step, what we have found most effective is when the mailing goes out, within 2 weeks, we wanna start having information sessions, things in the newspaper. What we have seen work most effective is the inundation of information. The mailing goes out, it's mentioned at a select board meeting, there might be a local cable station. You also are having information sessions, there's an article in the newspaper, we're also pushing out things for, you know, Twitter and, Facebook and those
Social
kind of
media.
things. All that social media. All of that is happening at the same time, and there's a buzz. Everyone's talking about the aggregation and so forth. That are plugged in, I'm going to, I don't need to tell you, but
Yes.
as it is, electricity is pretty dry. And then when you don't have people engaged in local government, which is not an easy thing to do, some people are not going to know because they just won't be paying attention. That's not out of lack of effort by this board or us. It's one of those things to get people to pay attention to electric aggregation. It's not what I would call a juicy subject. So
Okay.
I will tell you, we will do whatever you ask us to do about in person. We'll give you all of the articles. You know, here's the press release. It works best, we know this. We put a press release out, probably doesn't get picked up. The town puts out the press release, it probably gets picked up. This is through trial and error. And then, like I said, any of those other things, Colonial does not think that we know your citizenry better than you. So we say to you, tell us where you want us when. We'll have information sessions. I promise you, ask any community that we've done an information session in, nobody leaves there without full understanding. But getting the horse to water is the difficult part.
Right.
And we have not mastered that.
I think if I had great faith that we were gonna be successful, it probably would have worked the other way where you're automatically opt-in. It would have been that you had to opt in if we were gonna be able to get the information out in the way we think we can.
And the reason.
And it's okay, I understand business is business, but
No, well, believe it or not, the way energy works, it's very, very difficult, as you'll see with third-party supply, to actually get pricing as good as you can as an aggregate.
Yep.
Just let me explain. So we don't generate electricity, right? We're your broker at this point. We're gonna have the suppliers bid on it. But if we said we're gonna opt in, how much energy would the supplier have to buy? We don't know. Who's gonna opt in? Well, what's the price? I'll opt in if I know the price. Well, I don't know the price. I don't know how many people. It's the chicken and the egg. So when we do it, like, thank you that the person writing this legislation understood deeply how energy works, and it allows us to actually compete in the marketplace. And actually, as a whole, aggregation does better than basic service
Right.
because the risk is less for the supply community.
And when we had this as a town meeting warrant article, when we passed it, I remember you did these little community
Yes.
talk about, and they were attended, and people did ask questions. People that pay attention, pay attention.
You have a lot of people in Newbury
Yeah.
that are very educated that are paying attention. We did 2 meetings and fantastic. You
Yeah.
don't see that everywhere.
No, I remember
It's
that.
different.
Yeah.
Let's play a little what-if game here.
Please.
What if I got your letter and I threw it away? And I'm a National Grid customer. I
Yes.
threw it away. So I become an aggregate person.
You're still National Grid, but your
Okay.
supply is.
So then at some point in time, I get an electric bill and I look at it and I say, gee, my bill went down. You know, is that gonna upset me? No. If I looked at it and my bill went up, you might get my attention. So, I mean, the worst thing that can happen to someone who fails to opt out, who is a National Grid customer, is the bill is probably gonna go down.
Well,
At the beginning of the program, 1,000, we wouldn't start the program, over. So I know that to be the fact originally. What I can't do is predict what will happen with National Grid in future terms. But we would not start the program over. So
But
you'd
then
just be
once-
out of the gate, be delivering some savings. That is correct.
but then, once you receive the bill and you say it's high, then you can make the phone call and you can opt in.
Opt in.
Yeah, opt out,
right.
so that is correct.
So you only got 1 month that you
I'm just
gotta,
trying to throw the net out to the people that aren't gonna go to the informative meeting, who aren't gonna look at the postcard, who throw it away, who just stay with status quo. They'll have an opportunity eventually when they see their bills come in.
To opt, to make a choice.
Make a choice,
100%.
exactly, to make a choice.
and they can go the other way, if the bill is high, if the aggregate for some reason is up higher,
That's
they
their
can opt
choice,
out.
that's their choice.
They can go out, and then the next time you look at it again, and you can opt in. There's some people that do that all the time, they just,
In this town, you are 100% correct. There are people that do that constantly and switch supplier to supplier.
Yeah.
Very impressed with the amount of knowledge of people I met here. What they find overall, people using third-party supply pay more than basic service because rates rise unless you're paying attention. Unless you're paying attention. About $500 million more than basic service over the last 4 winters is what the Attorney General has said. Be very careful, buyer beware. Believe it or not, aggregations are just the opposite. So over the last 7 to 8 years, I couldn't speak to all, but just Colonial aggregation customers have saved $620 million vis-a-vis basic service.
Alicia?
yeah.
Granted, with some third party, there seems to be some penalties contractually, encountered. With the advocate, with Colonial, there is no penalty. Let me finish this. But if we're switching back and forth in National Grid, is there a penalty gonna come from National Grid?
There is none, no penalty. I
That's-
do wanna say
that's
this.
positive.
Very positive. I wanna say this, but when it comes on the postcard, so if you get the notice, the opt-out notice, that means you're on basic service, no fee, penalty, nothing to worry about. If you get the postcard, you're just being notified, hey, the town has a program. You need to contact your supplier to make sure there isn't a fee or penalty to leave your program. That third-party supplier may have a fee or penalty to leave that program.
But National Grid doesn't have one.
That is a correct statement. National Grid does not have a reconciliation credit any longer. Correct.
That makes it good for you
And,
guys.
and
So-
I also want people to understand that when they do this, when you look at your electric bill, it's cut out into a lot of different things. You will see, you can opt out of the National Grid supplier, and you will still see National Grid as a component of your overall bill because they distribute. You use the utilities infrastructure to get your energy. So you're never gonna see anything from National Grid, you're just gonna, it's a very small line item portion on your electric bill that says the
Basic
supplier.
service right now,
Yeah.
right now, yep. It is the supplier, it says basic service right now, the people that we will be mailing to.
Yeah,
And that will change to say, I'm just gonna use Dominion Newbury Ag, so that you know that you're in the ag. It's definitive on the bill, whoever the supplier, plus the name of the town and AGG, aggregation.
yeah. So it'll be, okay, so it'll
What's the
remove
total
basic
bill
service.
now in our town, National Grid? Can anyone remember? What are we paying now?
16055 for a residential customer.
And that's delivery and
That's supply alone.
what is,
Wow,
what
it's
is
high.
delivery cost?
Probably very similar, probably 15 cents.
So we're still like 28 plus, almost close to 30.
We are in the island of Massachusetts. But no, that's how expensive it is. It's the island of Massachusetts. They probably do very similar on islands like Hawaii. Scary, but true. Yes. Around 30 cents a kilowatt hour. All in.
And it's just a question, why is that way here? Is it politics and that's enough said? What is it?
Well, I can only.
You don't have to say.
No, I will only tell you that portion of your bill is handled by the Department of Public Utilities, the T&D portion. All of those increases are approved by the Department of Public Utilities. And it's not my business, I'm saying to you, they seem to have a friendly relationship between the utilities and the Department of Public Utilities because it is astronomical, the amount. And I have some bad news. We're building a lot of offshore wind. We need to get that electricity to all across New England. And that's going to come with a massive upgrade in the T&D system. That's the transmissions, the big lines. So there's an increase coming to a bill near you soon.
Ducky. Just ducky.
Did you have a question, Dale?
Yeah, this is just a question about the public sessions.
Yes.
Will this be a third party making these presentations, so it doesn't look like it's the town selling something or Colonial Power selling something? It's an unbiased presentation?
100%, I just want you to know, no one is trying to keep anyone in the program. The goal here is simply education. And with education, I believe most people will stay in the program. But make no mistake, if somebody doesn't want to stay in the program, we're gonna make sure that they know how to get out of the program, how to get back in the program, those kind of things. That's the beauty of this program. It's about a choice that didn't exist prior. There's nothing to sell here. It's just about education and then whether or not you're comfortable or not. And then we just have to talk you through your decision. That's all.
Okay,
I have a question.
yeah.
How often, can you switch like monthly?
Yeah, so, great point. I just wanna say, it's a great point, because we don't have smart meters today, we can only switch you every meter, once a month you get your bill. If you, I don't know if this happens to you, but I look at my bill every once in a while, what did my kids do, right? And now I'm looking at my bill, I can't opt out of the program until the next meter read. I just got my bill, that means my meter was just read. So on the next meter read, you can get out of your, but you won't see that on your bill until the following meter read. So it is, you can opt out each and every other month, right? But only on the meter read.
It's not a light switch either,
It is not a light switch, unfortunately.
it's a delayed.
When we get to smart meters, which they're saying in the next 5 years we'll get there, within 3 days of that, they'll have you switched.
You know,
Still time away.
I think, right, because of my solar, I have smart meters right now, I'm pretty sure. But I do think that they come out and actually read them. But,
Well, they probably don't
because
have to read yours.
I can show you on my phone what I'm creating right now in power. And what I've given National Grid today.
Yeah, and that, you do have a smart meter, so you're the exception, not the rule today.
Yeah, but, okay, and this is unrelated, but, your bidding your research process for us.
Yes.
When you come up with, let's say we're in, we've accepted it, you've negotiated a rate with whoever the lowest bidder was.
Correct.
Because that's what you're gonna do for us.
That is correct.
How often do you do that process for us?
Again, Advantage aggregation. Advantage Colonial. We work with 100 different communities across Massachusetts. We are in the marketplace each and every day. So I'm just gonna give you a scenario. Let's just say the first contract was signed for 24 months. And for whatever reason, okay, so we're gonna say 25 and 26. For whatever reason, the following month, the market in 27 for the electricity futures, it just falls off a cliff and we can get 7-cent power. I'm gonna pick up the phone immediately, I'm gonna call Joy, let her know what the situation is so she can fill in Tracy to say, hey, listen, we'd like to take a look and see what we can do. We can sign a contract the following month for 2027 electricity at 7-cent power, right away. That's the advantage of having the marketplace. I know most people think National Grid's out there procuring energy on your behalf. Unfortunately, they're not. They're just performing a process the Department of Public Utilities told them to do. So we get to look at the marketplace and use the marketplace. That's why I think we've been as successful as we have been. Where the utility is just throwing 2 darts a year, they're told exactly by the DPU, you're going to go out on this day, you're gonna buy half of what you need for 12 months. 6 months later, you're gonna go out and buy 50% of what you need for the next 12 months. The 2 overlapping 6 months gives you that 16,055 right now. On December 12th, they're gonna buy that next 12 months, and that overlapping from the last buy and this buy will give us the new rate starting February 1st, excuse me. Very simple.
And when he talks about contract, he doesn't mean a contract with the residents, he's talking about contract with the town. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I want I want the public to understand that.
Yeah.
The town signs, it says, as long as you follow these terms and conditions, you're able to serve our customers. Customer gets a free opt-out, there's no fees and penalties, it's consumer contract. But again, the power lies in the person's hand whether they choose to participate or not.
So I think the next step would be, is you're gonna go out and you're gonna look at what pricing is,
Correct.
and you're going to have a conversation with the town administrator. And
Joy,
Joy,
yep. And then on the 11th, National Grid will go out. We got no reason to start a program without knowing for
Right.
certain.
Right.
By the 18th, we'll know that rate. This is just me. I'm happy to get you pricing between then and the end of the year, but no reason to rush it, and we can just, after the new year, get you some final pricing. If things work out, then we can actually work through the details, meaning I expect, believe it or not, I expect that 16.55 to come down. We're probably looking at maybe middle 13s, somewhere in there. But again, they have a buy from before where the market is below it now. I'm fairly certain you will have the ability to start your program starting in, April timeframe.
Less than what National Grid.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would never start the program.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
For people that aren't as savvy as some of the people that you've referred to, that kind of just think their electricity has come from National Grid. National Grid has always had that contract with the town of Newbury anyway. Is that true?
So by default, it's their territory. So in 1997, National Grid had to sell off all their assets. If you do not purchase electricity somewhere else, they buy it for you, vis-a-vis basic service. That's just the service they're required to perform if you don't buy it on your own.
They deregulated energy
That is
in
correct.
Massachusetts.
Remiss not to have at least 2 choices to everyone, which this will give us.
That is correct. You had a question, sir?
Don't take this personally.
No,
What's in this for Colonial?
it's not personal at all. That's a great question. So Colonial's fee is a mill, what we call a mill in the business. It's a tenth of a penny. To make very clear, if the price of energy came in all in at 10 cents, what would be on your bill would be 10.1 cents. The way it would work, you just pay your bill. All of that money would go to National Grid. National Grid would then take that 10.1 cents out of the full, I'll call it 28 cents, send that down to whoever the winning supplier is. The winning supplier would then turn around and give us that 1/10 of a penny.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Great question.
Any other questions?
Now, Tracy, what do we need tonight? Just information that we've gotten, or do we need any
Yeah,
sort
I
of?
think that's all we need for this evening. I
No.
know you have given me authorization in the past to contract on behalf of the town, so I don't know if you want.
No, I just wanna thank you for coming,
Oh, happy to be
and
here.
thank you for having this discussion. I hope people learned from what we discussed. When we decide to move forward, with the contract, I look forward to scheduling. We'll go look over a whole slew of
Absolutely.
things to get. I want it in the newsletters for the library, newsletters for the Council on Aging, Peter Hall,
100%.
everything.
And hopefully we'll have a meeting at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks
Happy
very much.
Thanksgiving.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. The Town Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we recently got our notification from the Department of Revenue. We have certified our free cash at $2,536,375. I don't know if you recall, but we had about 1.1 million left over that we didn't appropriate from our last certification, so we added about 1.4 million. Interestingly enough, evaluating trends, I think Jason alluded to it earlier, that new growth slowing is kind of an indicator of what's happening in the market. And we typically averaged around 3.5 million or so in our free cash certification. Obviously, we're seeing that decline. That's another indicator of the economy slowing, our local economy slowing. So, budget process is underway. We talked about that briefly. The managers were supposed to provide to me this week their budgetary requests, so I'll be reviewing those next week and starting to put together a budget document. You may have noticed over at the Central Street Recreation area that there are new electric vehicle charging stations. There are 2 stations with, I guess they call it ports, 4 ports in total, and the fee is gonna be 35 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's the first. We expect to do another one at the library as well.
Now, can I ask a question about that? How does the town get paid on that?
Happy Thanksgiving.
No, we don't get paid at all. They put a credit card in and they fill their.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my question.
Yeah, we're not a middleman in that one.
Okay, thank you.
The Caldwell Farm Trail, so pleased to announce that it is underway after many years. Yeah, it's taken us frankly far too long, but here we are. Very excited. I think the DPW is about halfway through it. They're hoping to complete it tomorrow if the weather cooperates. That will be something that will require annual maintenance on their part, but very excited to get this project completed. Central Street Playground update, so Chris Huntress has met with the contractor and they have mobilized their equipment and they expect to begin work on the week of December 2nd. So they
Okay.
should be getting going with that, and if you recall, the equipment and everything won't be delivered and installed until the spring.
Yep.
The site work should be completed. The Lower Green Schoolhouse window project should be starting December 9th. The schoolhouse roof, I mentioned to you, we had 2 successful bidders, so the low bidder both the low bidders, both bid $55,000 for the project, which obviously resulted in a tie, so we flipped a coin on the advice of counsel in one way to handle that, and it resulted in the party that did not win filing a bid protest at the Attorney General's office, so that hearing will be scheduled for 12/17. It's kind of unfortunate because they were ready to go, we were hoping to get this completed before the snow flies, but, so we'll have to, it may not be able to be done. We'll keep an eye on it, but it may be a spring project, depending on how long this takes to get through the AG's process. I have a request for you for ARPA funds. So we have had a number of projects that closed out balances. And one of the most significant recent ones was the Board of Health money that they had requested. COVID is kind of over. Not that we're not gonna get it, but the emergent part of COVID is over. They don't need those funds any longer, so we're gonna close those back out. And one of the things that is appearing on our capital plan for this year that happened to just work into, we have about 80,000 left. This request is for $77,008 to purchase a wood chipper. It's replacing a 1998 Moorbark wood chipper that is at the end of its useful life, so that is for the DPW.
I thought that we already voted.
So we did, we
put-
voted to spend the balance on the playground,
Yeah.
which we've committed and we have encumbered, but now we have another about $82,000
So
to
the
spend.
playground's gonna come in,
It's within, yep, we've already taken those funds off.
so that is,
Yep,
you have enough money to complete
Yeah,
that?
that was like, well, it's like 244 out of the
Yep,
250.
exactly.
We had like 6 or 7,000 left over from the 250 that we authorized.
No, we authorized to spend any extra.
But we don't need it, so the total
Okay.
project cost of the playground was $236,270.53.
Okay, and that's not gonna be, and it won't be over budget.
No, not that, that's under contract, so.
Okay.
So now we have, with Board of Health closing those funds out, and, you know, we only have through this December
right.
to contract.
Right.
So.
To appropriate.
Every day, we're reconciling, anytime anyone completes a project, if there's, you know, $200 left in the project, we're adding it back. And we also can expend the interest on those funds too, so there's some interest funds. So this will be, you know, getting us right down to the wire, and then we'll see probably, you know, mid-December, if there's anything else left, we have to be under contract. It's not just that the board votes it, we have to be under contract for that
All
before
right.
December 31st.
So you need a vote from us?
I do.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to purchase the wood chipper with the ARPA funds.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have this came out of human resources, the money that they
Department
did.
of
Board of
Public
Health,
Health.
Board of Health.
Board of Health,
I'm sorry, Board of Health, yeah.
Yes.
That's what I meant to say.
yes.
How does, and it was granted to them out of ARPA funds
Correct,
for COVID issues or whatever.
correct.
How does that go to a wood chipper? I mean. it-
By what you
it-
just did, by taking the
So,
vote.
so what happens is, when
No,
COVID
but
first hit.
is that a legal thing that we can use ARPA funds?
Any municipal
For?
purpose, you can use,
Absolutely, I would never bring it before the board if it was not legal.
you can use it
And
for
the
any
new wood
municipal
chippers are a
purpose.
lot safer. and
So what happened was, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this amount, but I think it was around $350,000 that we allocated, or $250,000.
250, I think, yeah.
For the Board of Health, because we had, when COVID first hit, we first got our opera monies, we had no idea what to expect. So we encumbered that money. They only spent like, I don't know, not even 100,000.
46,000, somewhere around there.
Not even $50,000, but they had that money encumbered. So now they've cleaned all that out, they're only gonna spend this, that money has to come back, and we can use it, repurpose it for any municipal purpose.
Okay, and so just to get the numbers right, they had 250, is that what you said?
I'd have to pull it out.
No, it's
Somewhere
okay,
around there.
it's okay,
Actually.
and you said that there's about 80 something left over, right now?
With the interest, yep.
So they spent the difference between around 250, they spent it down to about 80.
No, they spent.
No, the 80 is not just Board of Health projects, it's all projects.
It's all of it
completed.
combined,
Yes, yes.
And includes some interest,
right?
that the monies are.
And
So
we've
this-
spent, they had already released some of their funds, which you committed to other projects. The only reason I chose the wood chipper was because I was looking at all the capital requests that have come in to date,
Right.
and that one fit within
Budget.
the available funds. If we get to, the third week in December and there's $700, we'll get a contract for something that the town needs, get that committed, and then you'd have to vote that as well.
So we
The
might have to
goal
have
is to not send back any funds.
Right,
We'll
right.
have to, we might need to have a special meeting, is that what you're telling me? We have to vote before the end of the year,
You would have to vote before the end of the year.
so everybody don't go on vacation the last week.
Well, and we would need a contract.
Yeah, I'd have to have the contract.
You'd have to have somebody accept
Yeah,
the contract before the end of the year.
Yep.
Not just us voting on it.
you could probably vote it after the fact, but I have to have a contract in place before December 31st.
Right, right.
Yes.
Okay,
So it would have to be something that we, know we need to, based on the budget proposals and the capital plan proposals.
okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Nope, I've got more. Let's see, the annual bonfire at the Spencer Pierce Little Farm has been canceled. I
Yeah.
don't know if you're aware of that, and been replaced with a Christmas tree chipping event. I think, it's still gonna be held on the 11th, but the hours are now 12 to 5.
No,
Is the
it's
fire
gonna be
department
during the
gonna be involved in it still?
I don't know the extent of their involvement.
will you wanna, explain that a little bit? Do you know what that means?
So it was Newburyport Fire Department that was in charge of it, but what I understand, and it's just anecdotally, I was not part of the process, that Spencer Pierce Little Farm had issues with it due to the dry conditions, did not.
This year?
Well, it makes
But
sense.
Newbury Fire was not sponsoring it, I believe it was Newburyport's Fire Department.
It was probably still good.
I don't know, I saw a social media post, but I don't know what you believe on social media. It said that they were having issues or concerns about carbon
Emissions.
Yeah, did you see that too?
I did. And they actually, they posted that themselves.
Okay.
Spencer Pierce did
Yeah,
on Facebook.
we just received the notification of the change, so I don't
And
know.
what was interesting to me was it says, and in conjunction with the fire department, and, what fire department? And,
Well,
what,
Newbury Fire, I would understand with all the dry conditions that we've had, why they wouldn't want to light a bonfire.
Yeah, before this rain, to have, if
but
something.
it didn't, but just that being said, they did not, on their Facebook post, they didn't talk about that. They specifically said, due to the emissions that the fire creates. So, I.
So
I'm
the
not-
bottom line for us is there's no bonfire for us.
It will be a tree chipping.
Is the stockpile gonna go in the same place?
I really don't know, it's
Because
not
that's
our
the property,
event. Yeah.
because Tender Crop leases that field from Spencer Pierce.
Maybe we could ask them if well, I would go to Spencer Pearsall if you have any questions, see what exactly it's gonna be.
So we don't even know where where we're gonna stockpile our trees?
We don't stockpile trees,
Well, we do in that field.
not the town of Newbury.
Yes,
We stockpile trees?
I think we do. Yeah, we take our
All
trees.
the ones that get picked
The ones we
up.
put in front of the fire station, they go to the tree pile.
Well,
Yeah,
that's because the fire department, which was Protection One, I believe, it wasn't the town, had a fundraiser, or they did that thing at Spencer Pierce Little Farm where they would collect trees and burn them. But that was a protection one, that wasn't a town sanctioned event. The
No.
town of Newbury didn't have anything to do with that,
No, you're talking about what?
the bonfire.
The bonfire, you're talking about the bonfire.
We all are talking about the
Talking about the
bonfire.
fact that there's not going to
The
be
big
a
one.
bonfire.
And that's what Dana's saying, the bonfire is what those trees went to.
Yes, but that's because Protection One put that call out. The town of Newbury didn't do that, I don't believe. I don't believe it was a town of Newbury sanctioned event. I could be wrong, but I don't think it
Oh,
is.
now I see what you're driving at, meaning that it was the fire departments and.
Yeah, it's the volunteer fire department, they have their own,
I guess my only beef about it is, okay, so it's not a Newbury event.
no,
Because I'm saying to myself, how can Spencer Pierce cancel them? I mean, Spencer Pierce has got every right to say,
It's
we don't
their-
want this burning to be
It's
on
their
our
event,
property.
their property, yeah.
Right, I understand that, but I mean, to me, that's what they should have said. But that's okay, because I understand that they didn't. And then do we have an option of having the bonfire on another piece of property?
the town doesn't run the bonfire,
Um,
that's my point.
Chief Evans said they are not sponsoring the tree chipping party.
Oh, so, yeah, right, well, that makes sense too. Is the
Town of
DPW
Newbury-
gonna be doing, who's doing the chipping?
Spencer Pierce.
Now we got a new chipper we can use.
Not yet, we don't, but soon.
I knew that was coming.
So you would have to call Spencer Pierce. The
Well,
town of Newbury has
that's-
nothing
It
to
would
do with
likely
this.
be on their social media or on their website, all the details, but I just wanted to let you know that it was good. The hours had changed.
So, and that's
Anyway.
that's another thing, that if you have a tree, you can't get rid of it at Spencer Pierce Farm unless you wanna chip it, so you gotta find out from them.
It's a gasoline diesel chipper too.
An electric chip.
Anyway,
Solar chipper.
onto the tree lighting, which is our sponsored.
Okay, we have a sponsored event, a tree lighting on December 8th, let's talk about
On
that.
December 8th at 3:30 PM, and they are currently testing the clicker, and we'll have it in your hands very soon.
Okay, good.
Okay,
So we're gonna light the tree on December 8th at 3:30 with the children from Newbury Elementary School singing, and Governor's Academy is gonna be providing
hot chocolate.
hot chocolate and cookies, I think.
Cookies. Yep. And the town offices are going to hold their annual employee holiday party on Thursday, December 19th, so the offices will be closing that day at noon. Orchard Street culvert replacement is underway, and obviously, everyone's aware of that, but it's still on target for completion the end of December as of right now. I don't know how this rain this past week will impact it, but they're still scheduled for completion the end of December. And the library collective bargaining agreement discussions are still ongoing.
Huh?
That's it. Oh,
Thank you, Tracy.
we did receive this lovely plaque. We are now, I think I mentioned to you, we
Oh, a
got our
green
green
community.
communities designation, so.
Tracy, is the Plum Island Bridge complete?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
No.
I heard it was, I heard
It's-
it was.
But it's not done.
No, I crossed it yesterday,
Yeah,
and
Taken down.
the light's still there, and it's
Yeah.
only still one lane,
Right.
right now.
No, today it wasn't.
No, it was open.
it was open
Oh,
today?
thanks today.
Yeah.
Everything was gone.
Really?
Yeah.
They're early if it
That's
is,
what, someone said they were done. We'll wait and see.
Congratulations.
because I think they were projected to complete December 16th. As I
All the
recall.
construction trucks are still on the side road.
They are, okay,
Both lanes were open.
maybe for the holidays.
So, under correspondence, the town has been notified that pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 61A, Section 14, there's the sale or conversion to residential or commercial use, a notice of intent to send to the city or town. We've been notified of specific to to 170 Orchard Street in Newbury, so that will be coming out of 61A. There's more to come on that. We got a letter from Xfinity Comcast regarding price changes, which We are writing again to share with you the emergency trouble reporting procedure in the event of a municipal building experiences problems with down cable drops, signal transport issues with iNet or video return lines, public education, government access channels, or have our technical construction staff on site during the emergency. So this is specific to the municipality, so Joy has that, on
Reach,
file for
is
us.
there an advocate for this?
That's something different.
Yeah, it's called streaming.
There is the City of Newburyport, we also received under correspondence, is the City of Newburyport watershed-based plan for Lower Artichoke Reservoir. The Merrimack Valley Planning Commission is seeking feedback by Friday, November 6th. All feedback must be submitted by December 6th. Any members of the board that want to send feedback, there's a lot of information in your packet regarding it, that's mostly what this stuff is. Send your feedback to Tracy or Joy, and she'll compile it and send it off to Merrimack Valley Planning. So if it's gonna come from the town of Newbury, and if anybody has comments, they need to go to the town to be submitted from the town, not individually.
Joe, you might know more about this than anybody, but I just reading through this quickly. Newburyport is gonna get into like through this, a share program with like Amesbury and Salisbury. So, and I'm assuming that if one town or one city is got a deficit in the future, if this goes through, they may be able to use water from the other adjoining towns if, like, and I'm only talking Amesbury, I believe, in Newburyport was part of this. Because let's say the artichoke gets low, for example, and Newburyport has got a water issue. This talks about them to be able to use Salisbury's water or Amesbury's water and vice versa, where they would, they would cooperate with each other depending upon who has the most resources, kind of like a water sharing program. That's the way I read some of this.
Public safety mutual aid.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, does Newbury have anything to, we're not gonna be part of that, correct?
Well, they're asking us, because part of Newbury is in the watershed, so what they're.
Right, the artichoke, I believe we're in a bottom.
Some of it is part of it, it goes through us, yeah, so this is, they're going to be forming a plan, it's a watershed plan. They're drafting it now and they're looking for comments. So,
And some of our residents are serviced by Newburyport Water.
Like Hanover Street.
Right.
It's,
Well, High Street too, but,
right,
and it's classic, I don't know if this was, if this occurred in other towns or if it occurred at Byfield Water, which I don't know, and that's why I'm asking, but EPA just had a new regulation that was passed, and it's kind of like a zero tolerance, so we just got a notice for a mail that, we have lead in our water.
yeah, that happened to me for property that I own outside
Yeah,
of
so
Newbury.
it wasn't, so Byfield Water didn't have to, because probably things aren't old enough, I don't know. But, and they asked you to let the water run for a certain amount of time. Did you happen to get that in Merrimack?
Not in Merrimack, but in Hampton.
In
Yeah.
Hampton, so and a lot of other towns got it, so, and that's a new ruling, and it's kinda scary, you think, do I really have to pay attention? And it probably, because it's a real minute, but any lead in your water is not particularly great. So it was kind of an awakening,
We have aging infrastructure
sure do.
across the whole country. Okay. We have to review and approve meeting minutes, October 8th, October 22nd, November 4th, and November 18th. I'll entertain a motion to vote on approval of meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I need a vote to assign warrants. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 warrants to sign.
Motion to assign or sign.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.